Hi, everybody. Monday on Astral Oracles. I'm very happy to be with you. And thanks for being here with me. This is going to be quite a long talk, but let me see if I can't break this down for you because I've been going through more of these very quite strange multidimensional experiences and super synchronicities and moving further up the fractal that we're all inside and into a five-dimensional spectrum. So I've actually cracked the code, I believe, at least the great mystery that we've been circling here. And what it is all these phenomenon that we connect to the Ascension Experience, which is human beings stepping into living into a higher layer of understanding within this great multidimensional fractal that we're inside, meaning that we're actually registering, sensing, and perceiving ourselves and existing within a wider framework which has another dimension atop of it. And you'll notice where the fourth dimension, like the first dimension of time, where it intersects with the three dimensions of space, this is layered very much in boxes. So it deals with locks, closed and open systems, ideas of energy preservation, this idea that it it's looking for a feeling of surplus energy that that it's then trying to contain. And this is what you find in the ego, which is simply the 4D operating system for the human body. The narcissus is the 4D operating system for the human body. And what it does is it's it's a kind of closed vent mechanism. So you can see it's engaged with watching itself engaging with something, and this is kind of the vent where it's moving energy through, and it's in a type of energy surplus. So the 4D operating system has the basic attitude of, how do I get that thing that makes me feel good and then hold on to it? And it sees itself as agent, and this agency is connected to a sense of personal narrative, to a sense of memory, like this is who I am and these are my experiences and this is where I'm going, and this is my name and these are all my stories. And that's simply the 4D operating system. That's how a human mind body complex, the robot that we are, is simply run and is able to run, because if it doesn't have this kind of linguistic identity system to operate through, it really can't exist. And the 5D operating system is, it looks more like these intersecting condensed polygons of meaning that are very soft, like they're soft edged, and they're running currents of higher energy states. So a 5D operating perspective is something like, how can I unveil the best possible version of whatever situation I find myself in this current moment? So there's this constant energy surplus that's trying to circulate itself, because if it builds up within the system like it does in the 4D, it actually becomes rot. And there is something rotten in the state of Denmark, like this state of energy that's contained and built up and can't be released, and people are trying to hold it. It's making them very, very ill, but they don't understand why. Because at the same time, it's the thing that's actually keeping them energized. And what we understand as energy, love, information, gnosis, grace, these are actually all the same thing. It's simply this source flow that contains your path, your current, the information you need to be streamlined. And so what we understand here as, notice all these things that we're dancing around, both me and people in the channeling new age community, where we're kind of examining this very novel stuff. But elves, aliens, hybrids, Asuras, higher dimensional ascension programs, enlightenment, and autism. I'll add that, the last of these factors, because what it is it's actually the same phenomenon. And what it is it's an energy template. It's a kind of compressed, tight ball of energy, of love, truth, beauty, natural order, that wants to unwrap and express itself as a metamorphosis, where it's integrating both body, mind, and the manifest reality. And what it does is it needs to kind of press itself out. So you'll notice within the autistic configuration, there's this kind of pained, um, like compression, contraction within it, which has to do with the fact that the world is grading you, because it's a lower vibrational frequency that's not adapted to what it actually is, which is this kind of 5D expression, this higher kind of elven, beautiful, pure-hearted, um, like long-sighted, and collectively minded, value set that's trying to express itself and move into the world. And so what has been happening for me personally is my body is transforming, and you can probably tell, and you'll notice, like if you look at my hands, for instance, what's been going on all my life is, even though I have freakishly large hands, is you can actually see that they're kind of hammer-handed, like they're slightly bent, because I've been trying to compress into a 4D system. So my body, my mind, my energy structure, my skeleton, all these things have been, ever since I've been born, trying to compress and pretend to be 4D, because that was the code that was running. And you 4D people are dangerous, like, so, because they're always in this kind of like deficit, where they're trying to get a little something from themselves. So if you can imagine being the kind of surplus generator, somebody who's in an energetic surplus, who's constantly naturally making people feel a little better off than they were, um, before you met them, that's super addictive and attractive to people. And I've been unable to navigate that, because it's second nature to me. And I don't understand that this is the 4D code, because in the 4D, people, they feel like love, for instance, means personal validation. So they think it means approval. So it's this idea that, oh, yes, I approve, and please approve of me and love you back, and more approval. And that's not what love is. Love is like the energy surplus that flows and contains and creates things and sustains them and integrates them and builds them together. It's this higher, truth, love, and beauty imprint. It has absolutely nothing to do with personal approval. And it's very, very confusing being in that kind of energy surplus, because I noticed that then that all my life I've kind of been guided to retract myself from situations, people, after a while, moving past and through this world. I'm Mercury passing through your system and ordering and creating all these processes, but having to move forward through it. And what has been going on is it's actually a chrysalis, a pupal stage. So the ones who are responsible for writing this code and developing them, the ones we call the Elohim, they are somehow orchestrating that some of us have had to go through this quite long process of physical reconfiguration. And it's unpacking itself, but it needs to match up with time and space. And so you'll see when it doesn't, it becomes incredibly painful. A great example of this is Nietzsche, who was already a 5D person in the 1800s, and he saw all this and he was making sense of it, and he was having this experience, and he moved from northeastern Germany, which is vibrationally kind of very heavy ordered, militaristic, do as I say kind of culture, to Switzerland, which is kind of like free Germany, is like high spirits driving toward the sky. So, like, in and of itself, geographically, he was moving through this and having these visions of the eternal return. But he was also being squeezed by, like, the 4D configuration. This is where it's probably one of the most tense places, where you're dividing up the globe with rulers, and making all these, like, divisions of this is how things are supposed to be, and violence and domination and colonialism and all that. So, like, he was a person who had to spend 10 years in that catatonic madness when the energy first overtook him and couldn't be integrated. And what's happening now is, to me and to others, is that finally, the time space, the energies of the planet, the globe, the framework of that, the dimensional grid has unwrapped so much that our bodies can begin to accommodate a 5D experience. And and my left side has unwrapped more of my right, and that has, oddly enough, also to do with a lot of events, things that have transpired with the restitution of my maternal lineage. And I kind of know that now I have to go deal with the do my crazy wonky chaos magic with the right side of my family, which also kind of belongs to Eastern Denmark, and the other side belongs to Western Denmark. So it's again like these very weird multidimensional super synchronistic divides that are integrating and expressing itself through this magical process. And I was out and about a week ago, where I also drove through my old hometown, and Otter, the place I was brought up and born. And there, I could see it was a summer's day, and people were out and about, and younger people, and kids out playing and stuff. Some of them have this imprint in an even stronger degree that I have. Like, I can tell that it's going to unpack itself in ways in the future once the energies develop even further. And it is connected to some of these also integration of both insectoid and reptilian codes with the humanoid spectrum. So don't let that scare you, but there is a actual metamorphosis chrysalis process taking place and going on within us. And this is the hybrid program. This is the code that they've been talking about, that exists and is moving in and integrating us from these higher dimensional states, where it's been configured, and where we've chosen with our vibration where to go. um, so I hope I covered some of the bases. Like, this is quite a big revelation, and I can go into it further, and I will be as time passes. But of course, I'm just following my intuition with all this work, these videos. I'm just trying to say what I need to say, and leave it there for you. So the channeling, for instance, has been for me more than trans channeling. It's kind of been a discovery of a new way of sensing things and experiencing them. And I've been kind of intuitively wanting to shave myself bald since I was, I think, 12 or 13. And it simply has to do with the fact that the operating system that I'm using is stemming from this antenna, which is centered around the pituitary, this hyperdimensional antenna, which is taking in signals and emitting codes. And it really likes to be both exposed and covered up in wool. And that's another of these autism features, that you'll notice that your relationship to sensory experience, to light, to textures to fabrics to all these kind of arrangements of matter and vibration, that is different. It is both it's kind of a finer, more refined, more delicate breed, which is difficult. It's difficult to hold and to have rubbing up against the 4D experience and the people with their kind of weird egoic stratagems that are very hard to experience from this kind of 5D elfin autistic loving and immediate presence, which is trying to unwrap itself. But it is happening, and we're gradually shifting into that, and it's very very hard to understand and comprehend from a 4D perspective, because the 4D is a click clack switch on off. So it's constantly, things are either dead or alive. They're either in one state or another. They're Schrodinger's cat. They are not, right. Like they have to be in one collapsed state, and in the fifth dimension you'll realize that you are existing in a lot of spaces simultaneously, and these surfaces are integrating into wider, complex, energetic, multi-dimensional interfaces. So it is kind of this great big swirl between technology, biology, and semantics that we've been moving through, and that's now unifying into our creation of AI, and then also our rebirth as a different type of sensory, vibrational, existing bodily units. And this is the resurrection of the flesh, of which it was spoken. And it is also the Asura pattern. So you may know, if you are aware of classic Sanskrit tradition, or the Buddhist tradition, this idea that there are humans, and then there are the Asuras and the Devas. And the Asuras are actually the five-dimensional states. So the humans are 4D, the Asuras are 5D, and the deities are, the Devas are six-dimensional, like that. They're more angelic vibration. So you'll find it's down here in the 5D. It contains a lot more power. It contains a lot more beauty, and it's a lot more longevital, but it's also kind of tricksterish, playful, has a kind of humor that can seem very destructive, overpowering in its presence, because it's simply it belongs to a more integrated perspective, where both life and death, for instance, are not taken as seriously, or seen as definite as they are to humans in the 4D. So if you find yourself kind of containing this tension, like unpleasantness, and you've been driven into like these lonely spaces, it is actually because there's a code within you that's unwrapping, that belongs to a higher dimensional imprint. And that, my friend, is because you are an elf, a hybrid, and to some extent you are expressing and unwrapping more of a higher dimensional vibration into manifest reality with you being here. And we're doing this together and individually. So thank you so much for being on your path, your presence, and I send you all my love out there.